Hi, my name is Sam Johnson and I'm a voice teacher. Today I will be reacting to and analyzing Mariah Carey performing Vanishing in 1990 at the SNL Rehearsal. If you like my videos, please subscribe and don't forget to ring the bell so that you get notifications of all of my new videos whenever I post them.
All of the memories and bring them to life, surely I would.
So, 1990, not great quality. It's just lousy quality, which really stinks because, I've seen so many people get so excited about this. And to see Prime Mariah, singing with like an a cappella song, I think it's a really valuable find. So I'm going to try not to get too distracted by that. But the biggest reason that I pointed out is because it's kind of mimicking this breathy sound. And a lot of what I listen to when I'm analyzing voices is how much air is getting through, how much air is getting resisted by the vocal folds. And with Mariah, that's such a important thing to listen for because it's so characteristic of her style at certain parts in her career. And so, I feel a little bit sad that I can't hear it as truthfully as I would like. But anyway, that's the disclaimer for the rest of this.
Hear the distant laughter. Wasn't it you and me surviving the night? You're fading out of my sight swiftly. You're vanishing.
Cool. So when she went up to the first A flat, it looked a little bit tight to me. I saw the jaw just kind of lock into place, but every time that she went up there after she kind of loosened that jaw, that there was the time she went up to the B and it was more of a whoa kind of position rather than eh. And vowel matters so much. How you use your vowels is the main reason that people sound the way that they are, the tone that they have. It's from how we form vowels, which is great because that's something that we can change. That's something that we can adjust and make sure that it is working as well for us as possible. And so I point that out because even though that first note sounded good, it is a vowel that if you use that over and over and over and over and over again, it'll get tiring. It'll get tiring and it'll put you at risk of some other things going on. So it's a good sign that she didn't like stay in there, that she's already showing some variety in the sort of tones that she's using and the sort of vocal colors that she's using, because that flexibility helps protect you. But again, with Mariah, I find it is impossible to talk about her vocally without thinking about the injury, without thinking about the vocal nodules and the inconsistency later in her career. And so I think that finding gems like this, where she still sounds phenomenal, and that's the key, is like, I can talk about these things and how they might lead to poor results down the line while still appreciating that right now she sounds freaking awesome. This is a vocal channel. This is a vocal science channel, a vocal how to analyze voices channel, so that you can learn what kind of habits are worth picking up and what kind of things are worth interrupting so that you can have a really long, successful career.
Drifting away, you're vanishing.
Nice run there. Yeah, on that it wasn't high enough to matter in a way, because like you can get away with a lot of less than awesome techniques lower in your lower voice. With her, I still think it would be worth making sure that every single note that she does is as easy as possible, because someone with a history of nodules is likely to develop them again if you don't modify your technique in order to prevent them from happening again. But it's also like fine. What she just did was fine.
Oh, in rapture, no sensibility to open my eyes. I'm misunderstood.
Good. So I really like that. When she goes to those higher notes and she opens her mouth a little bit more, it relieves a little bit of that pressure that I hear sometimes. So you can drop the jaw a little, and that helps to make everything just work better. And every time that she does that, I think that it's successful. That said, then you start running into another area of how voices work, which is that as soon as you start opening things quite wide, it generally encourages this yell response, which, again, just looking at everything in context, you cannot just look at one thing in isolation when analyzing a voice. You take all of these clues to try to put together a puzzle. So that's another thing that I'd be like, cool, let's see if you can do it without needing to open it that wide. See if we can keep that dropping that you have, and just see if that works. Is that the right sound that you're trying to make? Are you happy with that? Does that feel better? Does that feel great? Because like me as a voice teacher, I'm not trying to say this is the way to do it. This is the way not to do it. It's just, okay, here's what's going on. This might be getting tiring. Let's try something else out and see if it's better. And then it's still like up to the individual to decide, yeah, that's better, or no, that's actually not what I'm looking for. And then if that's not what they're looking for, then it's up to me to like try to find a slightly different way to create the sound that they are making so that it becomes repeatable.
Faster. Oh, it's certainly hard to see. You're taking the light.
Nice.
Letting the shadows inside swiftly. You're vanishing.
Yeah. So again, when she went up to that higher B, she narrowed the vowel. It reduced the pressure. I thought it sounded phenomenal. And that led into that really quick run that she did, which was set up so well because of how she approached that high note. It worked awesome. It's like, that is prime Mariah to me.
Drifting nowhere.
And then we get to that rift, and there's just a little bit of extra tension. So again, like I talk often about trying to find the most balanced, easy middle ground that you can find in a voice. And once you find that place, you can kind of go away from it, and you can kind of go this direction and this direction. So balanced, by that I mean balance of air and muscle, because at its base, that's what singing is. It's air blowing past some little muscles and then being filtered by a vocal tract that is composed of muscles and bone and other stuff. But how we balance that airflow and that muscle resistance leads to good results and leads to just what we sound like. So I'm always searching for that place that is evenly balanced, and that can be a little bit different for every person. But once you find that, it usually feels really good, and it usually is what your best voice is going to be. Once you find that, you can kind of go away just a little bit on this side, make it a little bit breathier, or you can go away on this side and make it a little bit more chesty, heavy, whatever, muscly. But as long as you know what that home base is, you can always kind of come back to this home base. I think that Mariah has an incredible home base. When she is singing well, it is just chef's kiss. So good. When she goes away from it, as she frequently does, it seems like she's venturing fairly far away from that place for my ear, which just then becomes difficult to come back to that place. And when you do that too much, that's when things get difficult, inconsistent, or injurious.
You're vanishing.
Beautiful.
You're vanishing.
I also like that little playfulness that she did with the dynamics, where she leaned into that oh, which again might have, if we just relax the freaking jaw just a little bit more, oh, instead of oh, I think that all of these things start adding up to become easier and easier over time. But she did get a little bit louder there. And then on that next phrase, she went a little bit quieter. And having that flexibility is a sign that, okay, maybe even though this isn't like how I perceive the most perfect, reliable technique, she's got some flexibility with it. You cannot be as good of a singer as Mariah is without like a lot of things going well. And so you might see me and be like, Sam, you're being so picky. She sounds great. She's awesome. She's my hero. I agree. That's fine. I think Mariah's fantastic. I think she's a world-class talent. I think she's an incredible songwriter. I think she's an amazing performer. All of those things I can hold very firmly, and I am very comfortable believing that she's amazing And that there are also things that I would like to address to make sure that she had a lot more consistency over her career. I have no problem holding both of those ideas at the same time because they are not faulty with each other. They do not argue with each other. They inform each other.
Reaching out into the distance.
I also love how flexible her vowel was with that. So it wasn't the exact same vowel shape all the way through it, but it wasn't tracking the pitch as she went higher. So it wasn't like it just gave it some slightly different color to that run, to that riff. So even though a riff is when you sing multiple notes on the same vowel, and that's what she was doing, and I hear it as overall the shade O vowel. It wasn't locked into the exact same O vowel all the way through. And having that flexibility is so important. Plus, it just makes it sound really, really interesting. So some people who might have incredible quickness in their runs or something, it might just not hit as well as someone like Mariah does. That's one of the things that she does. She plays with dynamics and she plays with tonal variation within that run.
Searching for spirits of the past. Somebody's doing the wrong note. Just a trace of your existence.
Okay, so that trace of, she kind of flipped it, which is totally fine. I have no issues with flipping. I think flipping can be a really cool choice sometimes. Then she came down and then she went into a little bit more of that heavier place. But that is kind of like going here for a second, then here, and then she ended up back in the middle place. I think she's on point right now. She's sounding really good.
To grow.
Jeez. So the first one, she went up to the C sharp. Everyone has slightly different places that they say female bridges are. But, you know, C sharp is one of them. Whether you want to call it your first bridge, your second bridge, your third bridge, whatever. It's most high voices will feel this event sort of happen where it changes into a different place. When she first started it, it was a really, really full head voice. Like there was some chest connection. That's what makes it a full voice. But like it sounded like she was letting it move up into her head. Her mouth looked really relaxed. It had space because you need space when you're singing up there. And then it was preparing her to go up to that F sharp successfully, which she did. The second time that she went up to the F sharp, she kind of leaned into it and growled a little bit more, which again, you can get away with if you know where that home base is. And then she came right back to that home base right after. So I think that was phenomenal and it showed a lot of versatility and control in her voice. And then, okay, I've seen a lot of talk on Twitter, go follow me, at Sam Johnson, about Mariah's voice. And I've seen some people using me as a reference about her voice in regards to vocal nodules. So I just want to be clear about what a vocal nodule is. A vocal nodule is something that happens on your vocal folds. So your vocal folds are these little muscles. They are a pair of muscles that when you are singing, they kind of come together and vibrate like this. They oscillate like this. So it's like, this is, imagine that my pinkies are the front of my throat. They're always together like that. When you're breathing, they're kind of open. They stay open. As soon as you start phonating, these back parts kind of come together and then the whole thing makes sound. It's kind of like a duck call. It's not a pretty sound if you just take it in isolation without the filter after it. So that's what happens when you phonate. If you do that with too much pressure, it's like they're coming together like that. Try clapping that hard. It hurts when you do it. When you're singing really, really high, this comes together a lot more frequently than when you're singing really low. For example, that C sharp that she did, that's around 270, 280 hertz or something like that. No, sorry, that's up the octave, so that's like 550 hertz or something. I never memorized it exactly, but it's around there. So that means that your vocal folds are coming together 550 times per second. When you go up that octave up to the C sharp, which she is so good at, that goes up to over 1,000 times a second, like 1,100 times per second. So if that is happening with a little too much pressure, it hurts. And it starts building up these, not scars, they're more like calluses. Like if you're playing guitar, you get these calluses on your skin. And the membrane covering your vocal folds is very similar to skin, and it will callus in a very similar way. So whenever that callus sort of starts happening, then the vocal folds can't come together quite as well. There's sections that a little bit of extra air kind of comes through, but it's something that you can get rid of through good vocal use, through stretching, through modifying your vowels, through resonant vocal exercises, and through surgery. However, I don't recommend the surgery because I think you can get rid of it without the surgery, and why use lasers on something that you could get rid of without it? That said, I'm not a doctor. If you're a doctor, like, trust your doctors. Doctors are smart. They're smarter than me. So, this vocal nodules happen because of how you use your voice. They do affect the sound of the voice after. That is true. But they don't come without you using the voice in a certain way. Children often get vocal nodules because they have these teeny little vocal folds. If they sing with too much pressure or speak with too much pressure or yell with too much pressure over and over, babies can get nodules. Like, it's indiscriminate. Anyway, that's how vocal nodules work. If you have any questions, please put them down in the comments. I would love to talk about this because I think that Mariah is brilliant performer. But I saw someone say that her nodules are why she sounds this way. And it's like, no, she sounds this way because of the choices that she's making. And the nodules are a logical next thing to happen. And yes, they will affect the sound after, but it's like, it's not the nodules' fault that she started with habits that would lead to that injury. Really great singers get these injuries all the time, and it's a lot more likely to happen with tenors and sopranos just because of physics, of things coming together so much more, so many more times in a second. It cycles a lot quicker. But there's no shame in it. There's absolutely no shame in vocal injury, and it doesn't mean that she's any less of a performer. Mariah's great.
All the memories and bring them to life. Lord knows I would, but now you're fitting faster.
I love it. So that time she started it with a little bit of that growl, but she immediately got into that really clear, well-balanced sound. There's a little bit of extra jaw movement that I think would be worth addressing just to make sure that you are capable of doing it without it. Because if you can, why not? Like, make singing as easy on yourself as you possibly can, because it gives you control. All we're looking for is control and intention. And then it sounded really good. Again, it sounds really, really good.
Getting so hard to see, taking the light, letting the darkness inside swiftly. You're my ocean.
Okay, so again, when she went up to that F sharp, it had a really nice balanced sound. It did not sound like she was pulling chest voice up. And F sharp is that area that, like, you can't do it well if you're just pulling chest voice up. It will fail. And it shows that she was mixing really well with that. I think that it sounded like her full voice, but she was letting it move up into her head. The line that followed, she did start pulling chest a little bit. And that's just how you can tell the difference. There's a tonal difference in what it sounds like to pull chest voice versus letting it mix up into your head a little bit more. And that was great because it was right back to back.
Drifting away.
Nice low note.
Oh, vanishing. Oh, you're vanishing, drifting so far away.
Covering her whole range. Oh my gosh. Well, not her whole range, obviously, but a really wide range, over 2 octaves on one phrase. That's great. Going up to that F sharp over and over and over again, it's not getting heavier. She's pulling away her microphone a little bit, but the color of the sound is not changing. So I do think that she's pulling the mic away a little bit just out of habit. And it also will make it sound a little bit more smooth because of that volume spike that happens as she goes up to that higher note. But I think that what she's doing with her voice to create that note is working really well. It's that pulley thing right after that I wish that she would approach those notes in the same way as she's approaching the F sharp. I feel like if you do that, you can still sing with passion. You can still have the beautiful tone that she has. You can still sound intense. It's just a little bit easier because it's less pressure on those vocal folds. They're coming together the same amount, but there's less pressure. The vowel is slightly better, which also reduces the pressure. Like, all of these things work together as a system. You can't change one thing without everything else modifying slightly because it's changing one element of the equation. That time she did lean into it a little bit more. You could hear a little bit more of that grit. It sounded a little bit more of that chest pulley thing, but overall it was still like mixy. That's the difference in color of when you approach it with more of that true mix, that more well-balanced mix, versus when you approach it with a slightly heavier mix. And some of it is honestly aesthetic preference. I don't like that sound as much because it sounds hard to me. But more than that, it's really like it feels bad to do that over and over again. And the reason it sounds bad to me is because I feel things empathetically. I listen empathetically. And I know what it feels like to pull chest like that, and it doesn't feel good after you do it for a while. Jeez. Man. Like, she's next level. She's so good. You notice her vowel was awesome from the beginning of it, and it didn't modify when she jumped up that octave. So the vowel that she was using for the lower stuff, which can you believe that stuff is considered low? It's all in relation to other things. So the vowel remained the same when she jumped up into that whistle tone because the vowel worked well for both areas. And that gets into this theory that my voice teacher has, where he says that people are able to belt up to the belt mix, whatever you want to call it. I think it's all terminology and semantics at that point, but an octave lower than they are able to get in their highest register, whatever. So if she was able to belt or to go up and to whistle up to a B flat, then it's likely that the octave below would be successful to get that full voice belty thing, just because the acoustics kind of match up in that way. And I think that is kind of a data point. What she just did is like, man, the vowels that work for those really, really high things, they will work for the octave lower, or they'll at least show that you are capable of finding a balanced place that octave lower. Plus just that agility that she did, it was freaking awesome. Oh, wow. Cool. And then it kind of, I don't know, did they just blend it into the some other recording of it, because it totally changed the sound. Mariah, I think, is one of the best singers, one of the best pop singers, and has one of the best catalogs in pop music. That I don't think makes her immune from analysis. I think that it actually begs for analysis so that others can learn how she does what she does, what is successful about it, and so that we can look at her career without judgment, but just to see how certain things led to other things. I think she's great. Like, I really like Mariah Carey. I think she's fantastic. And I get defensive about this because I know there are a lot of people that are like, Sam, you don't know what you're talking about. You can't sing like her. You're damn right I can't sing like Mariah Carey. If I was able to sing like Mariah Carey, I would go sing like Mariah Carey and be Mariah Carey level famous and write songs like Mariah Carey. I'm not claiming to be Mariah Carey. I'm claiming to be Sam Johnson, a really good voice teacher, someone who can hear these things and make these adjustments in others. I'm a good singer myself, but that's not what I'm doing here. They are different things. I'm being defensive about this because I know people are going to come at me about like, well, she's awesome. Everything she's doing is a choice. She is awesome. Most of what she's doing is a choice. Some of those choices have consequences. Some of them are really, really positive over a 20-year career. Some of them are not. They're just not. And you can't ignore that truth. You can love her while still acknowledging maybe some things could have been done differently in order to preserve the incredible talent that she has. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment below, go share this video with your friends, use it as a data point to argue with them, drag me into it, I don't care. I love Mariah Carey and I'm proud of what I said.